Then Sauron stripped them from their disguise, and they stood before him naked and afraid. But though their kinds were revealed, Sauron could not discover their names or their purposes. He cast them therefore into a deep pit, dark and silent, and threatened to slay them cruelly, unless one would betray the truth to him. From time to time they saw two eyes kindled in the dark, and a werewolf devoured one of the companions. But none betrayed their lord. What's up, Tolkieneers? I'm Danny J.
And I'm Joel N.
This is Trevor D.
And together, we are...
Keep on Tolkien.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, or welcome to. This is Keep on Tolkien. We're in the midst of our 100th episode celebration.
Yes, this is a very exciting time for us. Today is episode 101.
Hey, we're finally a class.
Yes, yeah,
101.
101. There you go.
And for episode 101, we're continuing on with our Great Tales of the Elder Days series, which you guys probably don't know this, but in the off-air, this series continues to get longer and longer.
And longer as it goes, yep.
Now we keep
and more
realizing,
delayed and more delayed.
More delayed and more delayed. We realize, this needs another episode, doesn't it?
Which is good. That means we're putting the love and effort into this thing.
No, we are not hobbiting this.
Yeah, we're
not taking a small amount of information and expanding it.
Yes.
We're trying to take an incredibly large amount of information.
A crazy amount of information, as it
and
were.
compact it as much as we can.
Right. Into a palatable and a listenable format.
Right.
That you're used to.
Yeah, well refined, you might say.
Right. And give it that KOT spin that we're so famous
that
for.
Everyone loves.
Right. But yes, those three tales, the great tales of the Elder Days, are what, Trevor?
Beren and Lúthien,
right?
The children of Húrin, and the fall of Gondolin.
Correct. And they're collectively known as the Atenatarion, right?
Hell yeah.
Atenatarion.
So this is our Atenatarion series for our centennial celebration.
Yay! But
God
today,
damn it, I should have called it that. That's what we should have named it. The Anatarian Atenatarian Centennial Extravaganza,
bash.
or bash, or something crazy like that.
Damn missed opportunity.
I know. So today we're continuing on with part 2 of Beren and Lúthien. This is the canon version of the story. So when anyone says Beren and Lúthien, this is generally what they're talking about.
Right. This is the version that you would find in the Silmarillion, which is pretty much where you should start for any first age stuff. It's just the 1977 published Silmarillion.
100%. Now, in the next episode 102, that's going to be part 3 of our Beren and Lúthien series, that's when we're going to be discussing the more recently published Beren and Lúthien book, which does cover earlier versions of the tale and kind of the development of the tale.
Right.
So, before we get into what happens with those werewolves at the end of the first episode...
Right, we left you on a cliffhanger there.
Let's catch you right back up to where we're going to continue from.
Yeah, let's review a little bit of what we covered in the last episode. So let's do a previously on.
Previously on. I love that. We did that joke like a few seasons ago, like previously on X-Men, right? Because I remember watching the show, and it's funny because X-Men 97 is out now, but like watching that show back in the 90s and watching it as an adult, it would be like previously on, and then it would spew all this crazy shit that you forgot happened in the show, and you're like, this is a kid's show? Like, so much has happened. But
a lot of depth in X-Men.
In the X-Men show. Yeah. But yeah, so let's give a Campbell's condensed version of what happened on last week's episode.
All right, so the story of Beren and Lúthien begins with the death of Beren's father and their 12 men.
Mm-hmm.
Beren is driven south to Doriath, where he meets Princess Lúthien. And of course, they fall in love, and Beren asks King Thingol permission to marry Lúthien.
Right, and Thingol was furious at this, so he said he would only allow Beren to marry Lúthien if he retrieved a Silmaril from Morgoth's friggin' crown.
Ridiculous.
So Beren goes, and he actually does the damn thing. Or attempts to.
Mm-hmm.
He means to. So he leaves Doriath in a puff, and he goes over to Nargothrond to request help from his friend, King Finrod Felagund.
Right.
And Felagund reluctantly agrees to help Beren on his quest.
Yeah, Felagund, he goes before his people and explains what's what, and then he's going to help Beren, and he requested the aid of chieftains and pretty much anybody that will help out.
But two of the sons of Feanor, of course, Celegorm and Curufin, exert their influence over the people of Nargothrond, and they try to prevent anyone from helping Beren.
Yeah, why not, Yeah,
they secretly hoped that the king and Beren would be killed on the mission.
Pretty good bet that that's going to happen if you're not going to help them at all.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah. And their efforts worked pretty well. So Beren and King Felagund ultimately were accompanied by only 10 companions, and they head north toward Angband. But on their way, they are waylaid and captured by Sauron and stripped of their disguises, and Sauron throws them in a pit to be eaten alive one by one until someone reveals their names and their secret mission. And this is actually what that opening excerpt was about.
Yes, indeed.
Which, if you recall, nobody betrayed their mission.
No.
Yeah, one by one the wolf would devour them, but no one would betray their lord, right? That's what it said.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. Let's just hop right back in right there. Let's do a meanwhile.
Meanwhile, back in Doriath.
Jumping right back into the story of Beren and Lúthien. So as the story continues, we start back in Doriath, where there's suddenly a weight on Lúthien's heart when Beren is thrown into the pit of Sauron.
She can kind of feel it.
Yeah, she feels something bad's going on, so she goes to her mother Melian for counsel, and using her prescience, Melian informs Lúthien that yes, Beren was captured and is thrown in Sauron's dungeons in Tol and Galroth. Not good.
Pity.
When Lúthien realized that no one was going to go save Beren, she resolved to go do it herself.
Mm-hmm.
But she mistakenly decided to go to that one guy, Daeron the Minstrel.
Her friend. She thought was they've been buds for a long time.
Well, she recently friend zoned him, and it's not.
I suppose that's true.
He's a little butthurt.
He's a little butthurt. Yeah.
So yeah, not only did Daeron not help her, but he also straight up snitched on her to the king, to her father, King Thingol.
Mm-hmm.
Not cool. And we've got a excerpt here about this from the Silmarillion, chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, read by Trevor.
In the time when Sauron cast Beren into the pit, a weight of horror came upon Lúthien's heart, and going to Melian for counsel, she learned that Beren lay in the dungeons of Tol and Galroth, without hope of rescue. Then Lúthien, perceiving that no help would come from any other on earth, resolved to fly from Doriath and come herself to him. But she sought the aid of Daeron, and he betrayed her purpose to the king. Then Thingol was filled with fear and wonder, and because he would not deprive Lúthien of the lights of heaven, lest she fail and fade, and yet would restrain her, he caused a house to be built from which she should not escape. Not far from the gates of Menegroth stood the greatest of all the trees in the forest of Neldreth, and that was a beech forest, and the northern half of the kingdom. This mighty beech was named Hirelorn, and it had 3 trunks equal in girth, smooth and rind, and exceeding tall. No branches grew from them for the great height above the ground. Far aloft, between the shafts of Hirelorn, a wooden house was built, and there Lúthien was made to dwell, and the ladders were taken away and guarded, save only when the servants of Thingol brought her such things as she needed.
And of course, as some of you out there are probably saying to yourselves out loud, Hirelorn is, of course, the name of a metal band.
Yes. Yes, the name of that mighty tree is also just so happens to be the name of a metal band. There seems to be a lot of metal bands that stem from, old first age Tolkien stuff, or just Tolkien stuff in general.
Yeah, fantasy and metal go together like
hand in hand.
Peanut butter and jelly.
BB&J.
And of course, if you're wondering, Hirelorn actually means tree of the lady. Hiriel being the word for lady, and Orn, tree, like who?
Oh, of course. It was a little treehouse built specifically for Lúthien. That makes sense.
Yes.
It was an endwife.
Yeah.
Oh, they nailed something to an trunk of an endwife. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Crucified again.
Now we know where they went.
Oh, no.
Yeah, now we found them.
So, stuck up in this little Rapunzel-type house situation, Lúthien uses her skills of enchantment to make her hair grow incredibly long. And she also casts a spell of sleep onto this long-ass hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then she uses this hair, she weaves it into a dark robe that cloaks her kind of like a shadow. So it's got that misty, shadowy effect that we often see in Tolkien sometimes.
Yeah.
Is this still like connected to her head?
No, she cuts it off and she sews it into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that'd be crazy just to think the flowing hair, the flowing hair robe.
Like a robe that just really like goes down from her head, just like her hair becomes a robe.
The hood is
around her.
built in.
Yeah, they gave her, the textile loom to keep her busy, right?
Yeah, exactly. They did. And so the remaining hair she used to weave a rope to get down from the treehouse. And she dangled this rope out her window, and as it swayed above the heads of the guards below, the sleeping spell did its magic, and they fell asleep.
All to sleep. And she uses this opportunity to escape, of course. She gets the fuck out of there. Shrouded in her cloak, Lúthien vanished. Straight out of Doriath.
Yeah, kind of like Harry Potter's
Invisibility
cloak.
cloak.
Just whoosh. I mean, it didn't actually turn her invisible, but
It just kind of makes you sleepy.
it makes you sleepy, and it also shrouds you in like a shadow.
And by lucky chance, Celegorm and Cuarfin, those two guys from earlier.
I love those guys.
Yeah. Best friends.
Best guys.
They happen to be out, for a hunt with their hounds, and they spot Lúthien. And when they approach, Lúthien learns that they're from Nargothrond, and thinking that they were friends, of course, she asks for help, because who doesn't want help from their friends?
Right.
But when Celegorm and Cuarfin learn from Lúthien who she is, and also learn that both King Felagund and Beren are currently imprisoned by Sauron, they thought that they had hit a stroke of luck. Kind of like a free 2-for-1, if you will.
A tufa. Yeah, and on top of that, now they have Thingol's,
daughter.
for lack of a better, his most prized possession, right?
His heir.
Yeah, he's got his daughter. Not good.
They figure they can use her to get just about anything they want from Thingol as ransom.
These guys suck.
They do.
They suck
The
hard.
Sons of Feanor are generally not good
Not
people.
cool. And Celegorm and Cuarfin are the worst of them.
They are. I would have to agree. So the brothers, they go ahead and they lie to Lúthien and tell her that, they'll help her if she just got to come with them back to Nargothrond so they can, suit up and get supplies and things like that. But they actually imprison her in Nargothrond. And they do it so that she can't tell anyone about the plight of Felagund and Beren. They want it to remain a secret because they want them to die.
They want Sauron to finish him off.
And to top all that off, they sent messages to Thingol to pressure him to have Lúthien marry Celegorm.
Yep, they're really pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really sit well with the one of the brothers' hunting hounds.
Yeah, oddly enough, one of the brothers' dogs.
The only one that takes umbrage with the morality of this situation, dog.
One of the brothers' hunting hounds, named Huon, actually has issue with this.
Yeah, and who is Huon? Well, he's the Hound of Valinor, of course.
Yeah, let's talk about Huon for a second, because he's a very important character.
Yeah, Huon was a massive hound, and he came from Valinor.
The Blessed Realm.
And he was originally one of the great hunting hounds of Valar Orome.
Yeah, he'd been gifted to Celegorm by Orome during Celegorm's time in Valinor. Because he grew up there, right? Yeah, because Celegorm was born in Valinor. Yeah.
And Huon was so faithful, he even followed his master Celegorm into exile back to Middle-earth when all the Noldor left Valinor,
Yeah.
Damn, what a hound.
He is a bro. He's a very faithful, good boy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good boy.
He was also the ultimate tracker.
Hell yeah.
Nothing could escape Huon's sight or scent. And even enchantments didn't have any effect on him.
Yeah, he had
had
an enchantment resistance.
Yeah, he had a buff that or debuff enchantments or whatever. It's crazy. Yeah, he was pure of heart, and I think that's where a lot of his coolness comes from.
Yeah, also his qualms with the brothers' activity, because he's a pure of heart kind of person, and they're real fucking twisted.
He has morality.
He has a conscience.
Yeah, and he's sentient, and he understands all speech. And we were talking about that, because these characters in here that he ends up talking to, between them, there's 3 different languages spoken.
Yeah, so he must be multilingual, not just bilingual, but
because Lúthien would speak Sindarin.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Beren would be speaking that Hedorian or that Baorian Taliska, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Sindarin.
Right.
And Celegorm and Cuarfin would be speaking Quenya.
So what you're telling me is that Huon could have been the perfect go-between translator. If only Huon could talk.
If only he could talk, yeah.
Actually, I hear that he does.
That is true.
Talk.
There are actually 2 known prophecies about Huon.
Mm-hmm.
One is that he will speak 3 times before he dies.
Yep.
He'll speak on 3 separate occasions. And then the second prophecy known about Huon is that he will only die after he encounters the greatest wolf to ever live, which we find out is a little subjective.
Right, it's a point of contention in the story, yeah. Huon, he's grieved at the imprisonment of Lúthien. He thinks it's shitty. And he often visited her and slept in front of the door at night. Just a little comfort her a little bit.
Yeah. Huon could feel the evil that had come to Nargothrond.
Mm-hmm.
like a good pure of heart hound would.
Yeah, Lúthien would often tell Huan about Beren, her lover, right? And how cool he was, and he was a friend of all birds and beasts that did not serve Morgoth. He's a vegan, right? He's a vegetarian, right?
Yeah, well, uncertain.
Yeah, that's right.
He does not eat or kill anything that does not serve Huan.
But it doesn't.
Was the phrasing.
That doesn't serve
Morgoth?
Morgoth,
That
right?
doesn't, I'm sorry, that doesn't serve Morgoth. What did I say? Serve
said
Huan.
Huan, yeah.
Oh God, no!
The Dog Lord.
The dogs.
Huan.
They're eating the dogs.
Yeah. The syntax is unclear that he may eat things that serve Morgoth.
He's a Morgothivore.
Yeah, Morgothivore. I love that. Yeah. But yeah. And Huan, after hearing how cool this dude is, was like, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go get him.
Yeah, so Huan devises a plan to free Lúthien himself. And one night, he brings Lúthien her secret cloak, and this is when he speaks for the first time. And as he speaks, he advises her on his plan, what they're going to do to break out, and then he leads her out of Nargothrond using his own secret paths.
Yeah, he also allowed her to ride him like a mount, which is pretty awesome.
Sick.
And they rode north together to go save Beren.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what's frequently
On the Beren and Lúthien cover, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, on the cover of the novel. Lúthien riding the back of Huan, giant hound.
So back in the dungeons of Tol and Gaurath,
Yeah.
things were getting pretty dire, though. Like, all of Beren and Felagund's companions were now dead.
Mhm.
We know Werewolf took them one by one.
Eaten one by one.
slopped up.
Yeah, Sauron was planning to save Felagund for last because he could tell that he was some kind of high-ranking Noldo elf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's some kind of special elf.
Mm-hmm.
So Sauron sent the werewolf for Beren next, the only one left. But this is when Felagund breaks his bonds. He would not allow Beren to be killed, so he breaks his bonds and he kills the werewolf, quote, with his hands and teeth. Because remember, they're naked right now.
Right, no weapons.
No weapons. I mean, in case... Well, never mind. We're not going to go there. But yeah, just killing a werewolf with his hands and teeth. Cue heavy metal guitars, man. That's fucking gnarly.
Hell yeah.
Unfortunately, he was also mortally wounded in the process.
This one would probably be.
As, fighting a werewolf naked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Naked.
so,
and
naked and afraid. So then King Fingrad Felagund, he dies in Beren's arms.
Yeah.
And,
And he says some sad shit to him, though, before he dies.
yeah.
And we got an excerpt here from Silmarillion chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, the story. And it's going to be read by Joel.
Then he spoke to Beren, saying, I go now to my long rest in the timeless halls beyond the seas and the mountains of Aman. It will be long ere I am seen among the Noldor again, and it may be that we shall not meet a second time in death or life, for the fates of our kindreds are apart. Farewell. He died then in the dark in Tol and Gaurath, whose great tower he himself had built. Thus King Finrod Felagund, fairest and most beloved of the house of Finwë, redeemed his oath. But Beren mourned beside him in despair.
Ouch. Not a fitting end for such a great man.
I love that he's got to also point out, like, it was his tower, too.
Yeah, that sucks.
Insult to injury, like, it's just,
It's a familiar sight in death.
In my own dungeon. I remember when
In my own dungeon.
I remember when we designed this dungeon.
I remember designing this dungeon.
Who would have known I'd die here?
I was the one that said they shouldn't put toilets in.
Yeah. Buckets would be fine.
Well, outside of the tower, meanwhile, back here, Lúthien and Huan had gotten there.
They'd arrived, finally.
And so she sang a song that shook the walls of the tower, because
That's what you do.
that's what she does.
She's magic and shit.
And then Sauron was aware of her, and man, he was thrilled about this. He planned to capture Lúthien, and he wanted to present the daughter of Thingol to Morgoth and get a big reward.
Yeah, that's like the princess of the kingdom of Doriath. Like that'd get him a lot of points.
He's not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say.
Yeah.
So he sends out a wolf to capture her. But Huan kills this wolf silently. No problem for Huan.
Yeah, one hit kill too, just
He just
Gets
slays
him.
it secretly.
Nice try, Sauron.
So Sauron sends out another wolf, and Huan kills this one too.
Yep. Huan's a beast.
And this went on for longer than it should have, really.
Yeah, it goes on for some time. More wolves and more death.
Sauron sends a pack one by one.
Yeah, just
He doesn't get the hint. Maybe we should send 2 or 3.
why doesn't he start doubling up on them?
I don't know.
Yeah, like send through the first one. You go flank him from the right. Like just do some strategy. You know what I mean?
He's like, let's try that again.
Let's try again.
Yeah, considering the guy who eventually creates the whole One Ring scheme, this is really shallow.
Right.
Yeah, not very well thought through. So eventually he sends out Draugluin, Lord of Werewolves.
A bigger wolf.
And
A bigger
the
wolf,
battle, he is bigger. It's true. And there was actually a legit battle this time. The Battle of Draugluin and Huan was so intense, it was pretty crazy. But eventually Draugluin escapes and crawls back to Sauron. And as he dies at Sauron's feet, he says, Huan is there.
That's pretty sick.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Last thing he says is just about the dude who killed him. Like,
Yeah.
he's coming.
Everyone knows Huan. Like, everyone kind of knows who he is, and you never want to be on the bad side of Huan.
So Sauron, of course, being a learned character, he knows the prophecy surrounding Huan's death. So Sauron decides that he himself would attempt to transform into the greatest wolf to ever live and finally kill Huan by his own hand.
And Sauron's wolf form was so terrifying. How terrifying was it? It was so terrifying that even Huan leapt away from him at first. Like, oh shit.
He was like, what the fuck?
And you thought that last battle was pretty nuts? Well, the battle between Huan and Wolf Sauron was terrible.
Terrible. It was terrible.
And, to give some description to that, we've got an excerpt from the Silmarillion, Chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, read by Danny.
There befell the battle of Huan and Wolf Sauron, and the howls and baying echoed in the hills, and the watchers on the walls of Ered Wethrin across the valley heard it afar, and were dismayed. But no wizardry, nor spell, nor fang, nor venom, nor devil's art, nor beast strength could overthrow Huan of Valinor, and he took his foe by the throat and pinned him down. Then Sauron shifted shape, from wolf to serpent, and from monster to his own accustomed form. But he could not elude the grip of Huan without forsaking his body utterly. Ere his foul spirit left its dark house, Lúthien came to him, and said that he should be stripped of his raiment of flesh, and his ghost be sent quaking back to Morgoth. And she said, There everlastingly thy naked self shall endure the torment of his scorn, pierced by his eyes, unless thou yield to me the mastery of thy tower.
Fuck yeah.
God, I love that. Stripped of his raiment of flesh.
That's so cool, yeah.
The fucking metal. Yeah, there's some really fucking cool stuff.
There reminds me, isn't there a scene in that movie that we both like that most people don't like? Silent Hill movies? Doesn't Pyramid Head like rip somebody's skin off at one point?
Oh yeah. Like he doesn't peel it or nothing. Just
He
like
just grabs him by the
pinch and
chest and pinches it,
it
and
pinches him and
rips
just
it
rips
clean
it.
off.
Like,
Yeah.
Like degloves their entire
Degloves
body.
their whole body,
That's
yeah.
a good description.
Yep.
all at once.
Yeah.
Kind of
All
like
at once. Yeah.
kind of like they do with a tablecloth, where they just whoosh
Yeah.
all the.
Yep. Yeah. Check out Silent Hill. I think Silent Hill's an underrated horror film.
I've actually never seen it.
It's good. It's got Sean Bean in it.
Oh, does he live? Don't tell me. I know he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't. It's Sean Bean.
He dies all the time.
He dies all the time.
He's probably dead in real life, and we just haven't heard about
It's
it.
actually
yet.
AI Sean Bean.
Yeah, it's the ghost of Sean Bean.
Ghost
You know,
of Sean Bean.
Paranormal's real.
someday Sean Bean will die.
I don't want to think about it, but it will happen.
I mean,
Then who will die in all our movies?
Yeah, then who will die in our movie?
they'll just CG him.
Yep,
They'll buy the rights to his person or
from
something.
his family.
Okay, sorry. Getting back on track.
Chug, back on track.
So of course Sauron actually surrenders the tower and the spell guarding it. Didn't expect that, did you? Lúthien broke the spell and the tower then crumbled, releasing the prisoners and the slaves within. Well, hold on, it crumbled
Yeah,
on top of them, or
See,
No, I think
how does that work?
the walls crumbled.
the walls crumbled. Yeah, but
But the tower itself is still there, I think. But I think the walls and shit fell. That's what I always thought.
yeah,
Okay.
somehow
It's not a good description here.
I'm pretty sure it does say the walls crumbled. I assume that meant everything crumbled, but I guess
Okay.
that's
Well, because they'd be
assuming.
squished.
yeah, just everybody got free, but also the
Because they're
wall.
down in the basement, right?
Right.
They'd be squished.
Yeah, they would be squished. They would have been squashed. Okay, so let's interpret this as the walls, but not the entire foundation of the tower collapsed. So we don't want to kill the prisoners.
We can't. Of course. No, we can't kill the prisoners.
Despite the prisoners coming out, Beren wasn't one of them, though. So,
Yeah.
I mean, would it have mattered too much?
I guess not. Yeah, so Beren, he didn't come out. So Lúthien and Huan go into the dungeons, and they find Beren mourning over the dead body of King Felagund. And she touches Beren, and when they look at each other, Beren is finally able to snap out of his mournful daze that he had been stuck in.
I wonder how long he's been there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Frozen in mourning.
Yeah, a while at least. Together, after he comes to, they bury the body of Finrod on a hilltop on the Isle. And the Isle was once again clean. Like the little, like the lady from Poltergeist. This island is clean.
This home is clean.
This home is clean.
So then for a time, Beren and Lúthien lived free together in the woods, and they were happy again. But Huan, being faithful, he went back to his master Celegorm in Nargothrond. But it is said that their, quote, their love was less. Understandably so.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised Celegorm actually, accepted him back.
Yeah, that must have been
Yeah,
awkward.
actually, Celegorm being the dick that he is.
Celegorm just really likes hunting, dude.
He's like, I need my hunting
I
hound.
need my hunting dog. It's a business relationship.
So, at this time, back in Nargothrond, however, elves had become returning home that had previously been in captivity in Tol and Galroth.
Right.
And they brought back news of the fall of Tol and Galroth and the defeat of Sauron by Lúthien and Huan. But more importantly, they brought back news of the death of their beloved King Finrod Felagund.
Yeah, and the elves of Nargothrond do not take the news well, and they lament it hard.
Yeah, they lamented their king. They loved him. And rumors began to spread that perhaps Celegorm and Curufin had purposely stayed behind in an attempt to usurp the throne from the king, which is actually true.
That's totally what they were doing.
That's totally what
yeah.
they were doing. And the elves, they scorned the brothers, saying that they stayed home and let a maiden do all the work for them.
A little bit of sexism there.
A little bit of sexism there, but you get the point. Like
But still.
they clearly chose to stay behind and let others do the hard work because
Right.
they wanted the king to die.
Right. Yeah, they're setting them up for the knockoff.
And we've got an excerpt here again from chapter 19 of the Silmarillion, read by Trevor.
There was a tumult in Nargothrond, for thither now returned many elves that had been prisoners in the Isle of Sauron, and a clamour arose that no words of Celegorm could still. They lamented bitterly the fall of Felagund, their king, saying that a maiden had dared that which the sons of Feanor had not dared to do. But many perceived that it was treachery rather than fear that had guided Celegorm and Curufin. Therefore the hearts of the people of Nargothrond were released from their dominion, and turned again to the house of Finarfin, and they obeyed Orodreth. But he would not suffer them to slay the brothers, as some desired, for the spilling of kindred blood was by kin would bind the curse of Mandos more closely upon them all. Yet neither bread nor rest would he grant to Celegorm and Curufin within his realm, and he swore that there should be little love between Nargothrond and the sons of Feanor thereafter.
Yeah, you guys fucked this up.
Yeah.
Really, how did they expect this to go, right? Like, if they both die, everyone's going to think that's what they wanted anyway because they didn't support. So, they're going to turn on them anyway.
Well, I think they were just also not really taking into account Orodreth, who's not going to let them just
Take over?
take over Nargothrond without a fight, I don't think. So I don't know what they're really planning on doing.
But either way, they failed.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't work out for them.
Yeah, they get kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the elves of Nargothrond turn on Celegorm and Curufin and exile them from the kingdom.
Yeah, and nobody else goes with them.
No one.
Yep.
I think people in Nargothrond just don't want to go anywhere. Only 10 go with Felagund.
That's right, they don't like to leave.
Nobody
They
goes
just don't
with
want to go
Celegorm.
anywhere.
They're homebodies, yeah.
No, but not even Curufin's son, Celebrimbor.
Right, he straight up's like, peace, daddy, disowning you.
Yeah, he disowns his father and then goes on to create, rings and things, but that's a different story. So the only one that joined them into exile was the faithful Huan the Hound.
Mm-hmm.
And the brothers left the kingdom of Nargothrond and headed toward the land of Himling, which is where their brothers, the other sons of Feanor, lived.
Asshole country.
Asshole. Exactly. Yeah. So this happened to take them northeast along the northern border of Doriath. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Beren and Lúthien had made their way south, toward Lúthien's home of Doriath. And, they were finally nearing the border, of the northern border of Doriath, and Beren knew he couldn't go into Doriath, so, because he had to fulfill his oath.
Right, he's not done yet.
He needed the Silmarillion, so he didn't really know what to do.
Yeah, Lúthien, she tells him that his options are to either relinquish his oath, break an oath, not good.
Not good.
And just live a life of wandering and shame, or to nut up and challenge Morgoth for a Silmaril, straight up. Like, it's not a good. She's like, it's not a good choice.
No,
but
it's
here's
not.
your choice.
It's either one or the other, though. That's what you got. But she assures Beren that she will go with him wherever he goes. She supports him either way. Which is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And at this moment is when Celegorm and Curufin spot them through the trees, because they all just happen to be in the same area at the same time. And so Celegorm and Curufin ride up on their horses, and they attempt to ride Beren down and kidnap Lúthien.
Cool of them. But Beren performs an insane physical feat. He leaps up and grabs Curufin by the goddamn throat and throttles him off his horse onto the ground. And we got a cool excerpt here read by Joel from the Silmarillion of Beren and Lúthien.
Then Celegorm turned his horse and spurred it upon Beren, purposing to ride him down. But Curufin, swerving, stooped and lifted Lúthien to his saddle, for he was a strong and cunning horseman. Then Beren sprang before Celegorm, full upon the speeding horse of Curufin that had passed him, and the leap of Beren is renowned among men and elves. He took Curufin by the throat from behind and hurled him backward, and they fell to the ground together. The horse reared and fell, but Lúthien was flung aside and lay upon the grass.
Yeah, and then Beren just pretty much proceeds to go to work on Curufin and
beat the shit out of him.
Lay down a pretty old-fashioned beating on him.
But at this time, this is when his brother Celegorm rides up with a spear.
Sneaky bastard.
Yep. And Huon, of course, sees this about to happen, and he thinks it's time to intervene again. This is the second time he's had to stop his master from doing some asshole shit.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Huon blocks the horse's path and steps in front of it and guards Beren.
Now, at this point, Lúthien forbids the killing of Curufin, so instead of continuing to beat the shit out of him and kill him, Beren just takes Curufin's horse and all of his belongings, including something very special, a dagger named Angrist.
Right, and let's a little bit of a background on Angrist. We've talked about Angrist before.
We have.
He's made by the famous dwarven smith of the First Age, Telkar. Mm-hmm. Is Telkar Belegost, right?
I believe so.
Belegost? One of the two. Belegost or Norgrad. Pick one. Yeah. It could cut through iron, like it said. It could hew iron like green wood.
Like
Isn't that what it said?
Green wood, yeah, dude.
However, Telkar's blades are infamous for having a catch to them. Sometimes they break.
Sometimes they break.
Or, you know.
It happens. It's known to happen more than once.
Right. It happens. So keep that in mind as the story progresses.
The doom of Telkar.
Yes.
The doom of Telkar's blades. They are particularly sharp and hard blades, so I assume that means they're more brittle, but that's just the way I was looking into it. I don't know. But they are known to periodically break.
It happens. Yeah, there's also a Telkar artifact in the second tale as well.
Oh, we'll get there.
Telkar is very important. But yes, as the brothers ride away, sharing a horse now, dorks, Curufin grabs his brother's bow and shoots a farewell arrow straight at Lúthien.
But this is when Huon heroically catches the arrow in his mouth, saving her life like a fucking badass, because he's awesome.
But Curufin shoots a second arrow.
And this time, Beren heroically shields Lúthien with his body, just straight up.
His soft pink body.
His soft pink body. And he was gravely wounded. Like, he's shot with a friggin' arrow.
He's not Huon.
Never a good time. Huon chases his masters off.
Yeah, I think at this point I'd say you could probably say not his masters,
their friendship
right?
has ended.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think Huon has made his choice.
Huon gave them a second chance, and they blew it. You know what I mean?
One betrayal too many.
Yes, he also after he chases off the brothers on their horse, he comes back with a special plant that Lúthien could use to staunch the wound.
Now, in the Lay of Lúthien, well, I shouldn't say not explicitly within the narrative of the Lay of Lúthien, but within the notes surrounding the Lay of Lúthien, it is explicitly said that this plant is Ethelas.
Right, but this is also contradictory to the published Lord of the Rings, in which it says Ethelas was brought from Numenor at the beginning of the Second Age.
Yes, so it's another one of those things, inconsistencies. It seems like he probably meant to write it out, but I'm not positive.
Right, and we mentioned this only because we mentioned this in the 420 episode when we were talking about Ethelas, that we weren't sure if this instance here was an Ethelas use or not, and so it is murky. Is what
it is
we're
murky.
saying.
Yeah, there is a version in which yes, it is, and then there's versions in which they sort of don't specifically say.
Right.
So
Either
interpret
way-
it as you will.
Yeah,
Either way, magical plant.
magical plant. Yeah,
magical
plants-
plant staunches wounds, does great. Hooray! Good job, Huan.
Great stuff.
We love you.
Smart Huan.
So Lúthien was able to use this special plant and her magic to heal Beren's arrow wound.
So then Beren, Lúthien, and Huan, they finally make it to the border of Doriath. And, Beren knew that he wasn't going to be going into Doriath, but he also knew what he had to do. But he didn't want to get Lúthien killed while doing it.
It's kind of between a rock and a hard place.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to go do it on his own, or at least, just not with her.
he doesn't want to. Yeah, he doesn't want to risk her life on this obvious suicide
mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that night, Beren, he entrusts Huan with the protection of Lúthien. He's like, be a good dog.
Be a good boy.
Be a good boy.
Watch after her.
Yep, and he leaves. And he starts traveling north toward Angband.
And when Beren reaches the edge of the mountainous region known as Tarnufuin, and
Kind of like a plateau region.
It's kind of like a plateau region, and he hits the border of Anfauglith. He looks across the Anfauglith, and he sees far away the peaks of Thangorodrim. Angband is right there.
Mm-hmm. There she be.
There she be. And this is when he sings a song of farewell. It's kind of a sad song, because he was thinking it likely that he'll never see Lúthien or the light of day ever again.
Yeah.
Very sad.
This is it. This is the end.
This is it, boys. Yeah.
So we've got an excerpt here. This is an excerpt of the Lay of Lúthien from Canto 12, but the only reason I include it here is because this is within the Silmarillion. They actually do include sections of the Lay in the Beren and Lúthien story, rather than trying to retell it. And this is one of those times, so I thought it appropriate. So we've got an excerpt from the Lay of from the Lay of Lúthien, read by Danny.
Farewell, sweet earth and northern sky, for ever blessed since here did lie. And here with lissome limbs did run, beneath the moon, beneath the sun. Lúthien to Nuviel, for more fair than mortal tongue can tell. Though all to ruin fell the world, and were dissolved and backward hurled, unmade into the old abyss, yet was its making good for this, the dusk, the dawn, the earth, the sea, that Lúthien for a time should be.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, the poetry's so much fun. I love it.
But at this time, he hears someone singing in response to his song.
Who could that be?
It sounded like Lúthien.
Of course.
Of course. And Beren, he looks back and he saw the terrifying... But he looks back and he sees the terrifying figures of a great wolf and a great vampire running toward him.
Yeah, and he is freaking the fuck out. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But, when these two massive creatures get close, they're like, it's okay, don't worry about it. They take off their disguises, and they're like, hey, it's just us.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Lúthien and Huan.
This is they're just disguises. We're going to use them to sneak in there.
Yeah, they reveal that it's Lúthien and Huan in disguise. Apparently, so Huan had allowed Lúthien to ride him once more so that they could try to catch up to Beren. But Huan first brought Lúthien to Sauron's old isle, where he retrieved the corpses of Draugluin, the Lord of Werewolves, and Thuringwethel, the vampire messenger. And Huan had devised a cunning plan for them to use these hides of Draugluin and Thuringwethel to disguise themselves so that they could approach Angband safely.
How macabre.
How macabre.
That was quick, though, right? Like Beren was like, all right, you keep her safe. And then he leaves that night. And then they're like, all right, now we put our plan into action.
Yeah, it was like
The
very next morning, yeah.
The only thing we can be led to believe is that Huan is very fast.
Yeah.
He's a very
And
fast
very
dog.
swift. Faster than a horse. Like, it's got to be faster than a horse.
gotta be.
You know?
Yeah, Hound of Valinor? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So here, meeting again at the edge of the Anfauglith, Lúthien again expresses her love for Beren and reiterates her intentions to stay with him no matter where he goes.
Yeah, Beren tries to talk her out of it, because he was worried about her, inside of Angband. Not a good place for anybody.
Not
really.
a place you want any of your loved ones to really ever be.
No. But Huan spoke for the second time, and he counseled Beren.
And if Huan is speaking to you, you fucking listen.
You listen, because he's only speaking 3 times.
Yeah, he's got limited lives on this talking thing.
Yeah.
So Huan advises Beren that his and Lúthien's destinies are now intertwined. It's kind of unavoidable. And he said that it wouldn't be possible to separate Lúthien from the doom that now lays on them both.
Right.
So don't be sitting here trying to separate yourself. So they suited up together in their new disguises, and they went on their way to Angband. We've got another excerpt here from the Silmarillion, read by Trevor.
By the counsel of Huan and the arts of Lúthien, Beren was arrayed now in the hame of Draugluin, and she in the winged fell of Thuringwethil. Beren became in all things like a werewolf to look upon, save that his eyes there shone a spirit grim indeed, but clear, and horror was in his glance as he saw upon his flank a bat-like creature clinging with creased wings. Then, howling under the moon, he leapt down the hill, and the bat wheeled and flitted above him. They passed through all perils, until they came, with the dust of their long and weary road upon them, to the drear dale that lay before the gate of Angband. Black chasms opened beside the road, whence forms as of writhing serpents issued. On either hand of the cliff stood as embattled walls, and upon them sat carrion fowl crying with fell voices. Before them was the impregnable gate, an arch wide and dark at the foot of the mountains. Above it reared a 1,000-foot precipice.
Upon reaching these terrifying gates into Angband, they find an enormous beast lying in front of the gates, and this is a new character. This is the mighty Karkaroth, the Wolf of Angband. And Beren and Lúthien are completely dumbfounded. No word.
What is this?
Yeah, no word of the existence of such a beast had ever been heard of anywhere. Apparently, this wolf was just monstrous in size. So let's take a second and let's talk about Karkaroth, another very important character. So Karkaroth, aka the Red Maw.
Red Maw, right? He was an enormous werewolf that Morgoth had bred in secret. He had taken a pup of Draugluin, right, who we just slew, and he nurtured it himself, right?
Yeah, Morgoth feeds the wolf by hand. He only fed it like living elves or men, which is pretty brutal.
Jesus Christ.
The sweetest meats.
Yes.
And he also put some of his own dark power into the wolf to make it grow. So, like, that's going to be a wolf of Morgoth for sure.
He juiced it with his own power.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of in the book Animal Farm, Napoleon. He takes the puppies and he turns them into like his own secret police. He like raises them himself.
Oh.
And yeah, he uses them to like install his fascist regime.
I guess that sort of is what he's doing here, isn't he?
A little bit. No, yeah, it just reminded me of that. One of my other favorite books. Check it out. George Orwell, if you haven't read it. Great book. But we got, now for you, an excerpt by Joel. This is from of Beren and Lúthien, which is chapter 19 of the Silmarillion.
Swiftly the wolf grew, until he could creep into no den, but lay huge and angry before the feet of Morgoth. There the fire and anguish of hell entered into him, and he became filled with a devouring spirit, tormented, terrible, and strong. Karkaroth, the Red Maw, he is named in the tales of those days, and Anfauglir, the jaws of thirst. And Morgoth set him to lie unsleeping before the doors of Angband, lest Huan come.
Most people just use like a doormat, a welcome mat, if you will.
Well, apparently evil folks are really afraid of Huan.
Yeah.
They make a Karkaroth.
Yeah.
Huan Sauron doesn't like Huan. Morgoth even is kind of afraid of Huan.
He's an enemy to contend with, man.
He's a force. He's definitely a force.
Is Huan immortal?
It leads us to believe at least that if he weren't to be slain, he would live forever.
Yeah, in the same way that elves are immortal. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, unfortunately for Beren and Lúthien, word had already reached Angband that Draugluin was dead.
So Karkaroth knew something was up when he sees a dead Draugluin approaching.
The ghost of my father.
Is that you? Is that you, father?
Is this Hamlet? What the fuck? What are we going? But then, Lúthien, she removes her disguise and releases her Elf Maiar superpowers.
Yeah, because don't forget, she's part Maiar too, so she got them superpowers.
Yeah, she's juiced.
Yeah, she raises her hand and she says, "Oh, woe begotten spirit, fall now into dark oblivion and forget for a while the dreadful doom of life."
Damn,
I wish somebody said that to me every night before I went to bed.
yeah. Just put me to sleep. Forget about the dreadful doom of life.
Dark oblivion. Fall into dark oblivion. There you go.
And he does so. Karkaroth falls right to sleep, and I'm sure he doesn't mind it either.
I'm sure that's a blissful sleep. If Lúthien puts you to sleep,
it's got to be a blessing. Like,
yeah.
Being such a tormented spirit.
She does it like she says it as a reprieve, like, and forget for a while the dreadful doom of life. Like, find some rest.
Yeah, find a carriage to chase, or
yeah, whatever
something.
Karkaroth does in his dream, eats elf men or whatever. Yeah, so Beren and Lúthien, they decide to descend straight into Angband together.
And this is a very unique moment in Tolkien, in Middle-earth, and in this history, because this is the first time that any of Tolkien's characters go down and we follow them.
The narrative follows them.
Follows the characters down into Angband. And so this is really the audience's only real look at the inside of Angband.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a pretty terrible description in the Silmarillion. It's described, quote, "For they came to the seat of Morgoth in his nethermost hall that was upheld by horror, lit by fire, and filled with weapons of death and torment."
Damn.
Yeah. Seems like a pretty nasty place. Yeah, in some of the older versions that we'll get into next week, the description goes a little more in depth and it gets a little darker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love those descriptions. Yeah, they're so fun.
Well, Beren and Lúthien, they finally make it to Morgoth's throne room, and they're all still Beren's still in his wolf disguise, so he makes his way and he lays under Morgoth's throne, trying to be all sneaky,
lay low.
And but Lúthien is spotted, and she's stripped of her disguise by Morgoth, just like nope. But she was strong and was not daunted by his eyes. Right? She just stood there and was like,
stood her ground.
Hi Morgoth.
Yeah, she goes to she has a fun play here. What she does, she offers her service to him as a minstrel, right? Because she's known for her singing and dancing, of course.
She says something like, "Don't you guys need entertainment too?"
Mm-hmm. And Morgoth's like, "Not really,
but go for
it."
Go
ahead. So she begins to sing and dance for everybody. Cool. But realizing who she was, Morgoth began to ponder dark plans and more evil than he ever had before. It goes out of its way to say that in the text.
It does, which is kind of mildly terrifying, just considering what he's
already been up to. Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah, what would he do to the most beautiful being to ever exist?
Right.
Yeah, so he allows her to continue freely singing and dancing around for a moment as he takes secret pleasure in his dark thought.
Perv.
Yeah, he kind of is a perv. He's a perv. But suddenly she disappears out of sight, and she begins to sing a new song, even stronger and more beautiful than before.
And a blindness comes over Morgoth, and his eyes, he can't keep up with her dancing as she's moving around the throne room so fast.
Hypnotic.
Eventually, everybody in the throne room falls asleep. Because Lúthien knows how to put people to sleep. And even Morgoth, which is kind of nuts.
Including Morgoth,
like
the
how?
Big man himself. Yeah, he fell from his throne with a loud crash, and his enormous iron crown went rolling across the floor. Such an epic moment. We've got to do an excerpt of this moment. So here we go. This is also from the Silmarillion, chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, read by Danny.
But the Silmarils and the crown on Morgoth's head blazed forth suddenly with a radiance of white flame, and the burden of that crown and of the jewels bowed down his head, as though the world were set upon it, laden with a weight of care, of fear, and of desire, that even the will of Morgoth could not support. Then Lúthien, catching up her winged robe, sprang into the air, and her voice came dropping down like rain into pools, profound and dark. She cast her cloak before his eyes, and set upon him a dream, dark as the outer void where once he walked alone. Suddenly he fell, as a hill sliding in avalanche, and hurled like thunder from his throne, and lay prone upon the floors of hell. The iron crown rolled echoing from his head. All things were still.
Fuck. That's intense.
That's tense. That's a tense moment.
I imagine this is like one of those moments where you can hear a pin drop, like after the rolling crown just stops. Whoa.
You'd be able to hear my stomach, I think, just roll. Like, I'm not doing well right now.
I'm sure one of the
terrifying.
dudes sleeping in the hall just ripped one out.
Yeah, as they're sleeping, just that's true. You do fart a lot as you're sleeping. You know what I mean? Because you can't really like. It's the only time it's socially acceptable to fart. Really,
I imagine Angband smells really bad, just in general.
Yeah. Yes. Smells like farts on the daily anyway.
So anyway, at this point, everyone has fallen asleep, including Beren. So Lúthien goes and wakes him up, and after waking Beren, they seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try and take a Silmaril from Morgoth's Iron Crown.
That's right. Beren takes out the only tool he's got, that dagger, Angrist, that he'd taken off Curufin. And he, of course, uses it to successfully cut one of the Silmarils from the Iron Crown. No problem. Bang. Just right there, like that.
But
yeah, it cuts through iron like green wood, right? So he just kind of...
Right.
of course, Beren, being man, gets greedy.
Right.
Right. And so he's like, all right, well, I mean, I could take more than one Silmaril. Why not?
Yeah, why not rescue all three of them?
Who's gonna stop me?
Like, he really shouldn't have these anyway.
Could you imagine the chaos that would have been if he came back with all three?
That would have been
man.
insane.
Oh, my God.
Oh, the Sons of Feanor
would
would
have...
have...
Shit, dude. Yeah.
I mean, I guess they do...
They do
shitty-
anyway, yeah.
But
Anyway,
there
we'll
would have been even more war.
There
Yeah.
would have been even more war. So, anyway, as he's going to get another one of these Silmarils, it doesn't go so well. The dagger snaps. It said that it was not the destiny of those remaining Silmarils to be saved. So, this dagger, it breaks as he's trying to get the second Silmaril. And not only that, but a shard of that dagger flies up and cuts the face of Morgoth.
Oof.
And he groans, and everyone in the throne room begins to stir in their sleep.
Yeesh. That would be creepy.
Those blades of Telkar, man, they're just...
Well,
so
I think
it's
I would call
Angrist
they're
and-
fateful blades, right?
They're fateful.
Yeah, because like Narsil breaks, right?
Narsil, yeah.
When Elendil falls on it, right? Like he's like, I'm done being like Elendil's done, I'm done, right?
I got you. Okay.
That's like the destiny of that, and then its destiny is to be reforged when the king comes back, right, or whatever.
So we've got...
So it's fateful, and then this one knows that. Hey, we came here for one of these things. Let's not get greedy here. And then it's just apparently sacrifices itself.
So it's almost like Telkar didn't go quite as far as Eol the Dark Elf did. Like, he didn't give his swords full sentience.
Right, where they could speak and shit? No.
But they are... How did you describe it?
Fateful.
Fateful. Yes, they're fateful.
They are,
yes.
they are very fateful blades.
Yes.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. They play heavily into fate.
I like that.
So that shard that cuts Morgoth's face, does Morgoth bleed?
I think he does, yeah.
He does, yeah.
How many people can say that they drew blood from Morgoth?
Fingolfin and Thorongil. Or not Thorongil. Thorongil. That'd be fucked up. That'd be a weird thing. Thorondor.
Thorondor, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I know when Fingolfin fights him, it is said that he gushes blood.
Yeah, it gives him. Yeah, he cuts him so bad that the pools, the holes that Grond, the hammer made, are filled with Morgoth's blood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty metal shit.
Pretty gnarly. Yeah. Okay. Back to where we are.
Well, Beren drew blood. That's,
Beren drew blood. It doesn't. I guess it doesn't explicitly say, but we can assume that he drew blood when he cut his face with that dagger shard. So they decide that they're done. They're not going to press their luck any further. And Beren and Lúthien, they run from the throne room as fast as they can. At this point, their only desire was to see the light of day again. Just
a GTFO.
Yeah, because everyone is about to wake the fuck up, and they're going to be fucking screwed when he wakes up and sees that they got a Silmaril.
Right.
Yeah. And remember, this is Angband. So, of course, when they get to the gates, there's another big monster waiting for them. Karkaroth.
He's awake.
He's awake now, and he's probably pretty angry about being put to sleep.
Well, he's probably pretty more angry about having to come back to his terrible, shitty, tortured life.
That's true,
right?
Yeah. He was probably having
she
a
gave
party.
him, peaceful sleep, yeah. Yeah, he's pissed that he's awake,
They say sometimes the worst dreams are not the nightmares, but when you have good dreams, and then
you have to wake up to your mediocre life.
To something shitty happening in life. Yeah. Sad.
Poor
Sad. So
Karkaroth.
Karkaroth was probably very upset.
Very upset.
And he sprang at them, but Beren steps in front of Lúthien to kind of guard her, and he uses his right hand to hold up the Silmaril in defense. And Karkaroth stops for a second, but he's ultimately not daunted by this shiny jewel, and he swiftly bites off Beren's entire hand with the Silmaril in it and just eats it.
Just at that moment, just like, oh shit, your hand's gone, bro.
Right.
Yeah, he's just looking at it. He's like, oh,
And the gem you took.
chomp.
And suddenly, because Karkaroth, if you remember, evil things can't bear the touch of the Silmaril, right?
Right. So
So-
imagine eating one.
Imagine eating one and you're evil, right? So his insides are erupting in anguish, and the Silmaril is burning him up from within.
Yeah, he's not going to pass that Silmaril.
No, it's not
No.
going to pass. They could put him on a liquid, some kind of IV, and he's still not going to pass that.
Miralax.
So Karkaroth begins instantly just writhing in pain and howling, and he just runs off southward, just going absolutely insane, killing every living thing in his path.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's friend or foe, whatever.
He's mad.
He's burning up.
Yeah, it's even said that of all the terrors that came into Beleriand before Morgoth was defeated, the madness of Karkaroth was the most dreadful.
Take into account that includes dragons.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to be one hell
Biggest
of an
wolf.
angry wolf, dude.
To ever live.
Shit.
And now Beren, he was losing a lot of blood, and
He's not doing so well without his hand.
yeah, so he's starting to lose consciousness and is in serious risk of just bleeding to death right here and there.
Yeah, it turns out Karkaroth's fangs had venom on them.
Oh, he's also poisoned as well. Yes.
Yeah.
And Lúthien even tried to suck the venom from his wound and heal Beren, but she heard a terrible sound behind her, and the host of Angband had woken up. So that includes Morgoth.
Yeah.
Not okay. They are furious.
Yeah.
All of them. Morgoth is losing his shit. She can hear the rumbling.
Yeah, Silmaril gone.
But to their luck, at this very moment, 3 great eagles spy them and come swooping down to save them. Because it just so happens that Thorondor and his eagles had been previously advised by Huon to keep an eye out for Beren and Lúthien in case they needed help. Huon coming in clutch again.
Yeah, and of course, eagles always just in time. We got a excerpt here from the Silmarillion, chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, what we've been reading from pretty much all evening here. It's just going to be read by Trevor.
Below them suddenly thunder rolled. Lightning leaped upward, and the mountains quaked. Fire and smoke belched forth from Thangarodrim, and flaming bolts were hurled far abroad, falling ruinous upon the lands, and the Noldor and Hithlum trembled. But Thorondor took his way far above the earth, seeking the high roads of heaven, and at last the eagles set them down upon the borders of Doriath.
Peaceful ways in the high roads of heaven. Sounds lovely.
Yeah, after leaving the pits of hell with fucking fireballs shooting out of the
Yeah,
air.
probably the best way to GTFO fast. So once they're all back on the ground in Doriath, Lúthien and Huon tend to Beren's wound, and she does more of her healing magic.
Mm-hmm. And though the wound was fucked up and poisonous and, fell. Described as fell.
Fell. The wound was fell.
And they are still still able to bring Beren back from the brink of death. At least stabilize him, right?
Yeah. So this is the second time that Beren almost dies and gets
Straight up.
saved by Lúthien and Huon's
Mhm.
healing
Yeah.
powers.
Yeah, fitting that it was a giant, wolf this time, considering the pit he was in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Beren, he wakes to find himself next to Lúthien in the forest of Doriath again, in early spring. Sounds nice,
Beautiful.
And then from then on, he became known as Archemian?
Or
You got
Camion,
it.
yep.
Archemian, the one-handed.
The one-handed. And again, Beren and Lúthien lived together in the woods for a while as he continued to heal. But Beren ultimately could not forget his oath to King Thingol. Despite having gone to Angband and actually prying Silmaril out of the crown, his oath is
He's
still
still
not
unfulfilled.
But Beren also didn't intend to keep Lúthien from her father forever. He wasn't trying to withhold her from her family.
Right, that's abuser behavior.
Yeah, that's not cool. And he also thought it was wrong to keep someone as lovely and fair as Lúthien out in the woods, like living out in the woods like a wild
A
person.
vagabond.
Yeah, she's royalty. She shouldn't have to live wild out in the woods.
Right.
So after a while, Beren was able to persuade Lúthien into returning to Doriath together to try to confront Thingol and just talk it out at this
Talk
point.
to Daddy. Yeah, when they got to Doriath, things were not so fun in Doriath. Turns out without Lúthien, shit kind of sucks.
Yeah, things got dark in their away time.
Yeah, so we got another excerpt from chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien, read by Joel.
Upon Doriath evil days had fallen. Grief and silence had come upon all its people when Lúthien was lost. Long they had sought for her in vain, and it was told that in that time Daeron the minstrel of Thingol strayed from the land, and was seen no more. He it was that made music for the dance and song of Lúthien before Beren came to Doriath. But, seeking for Lúthien in despair, he wandered upon strange paths, and passing over the mountains, he came into the east of Middle-earth, where for many ages he made lament beside dark waters for Lúthien, daughter of Thingol, most beautiful of all living things. In that time, Thingol turned to Melian, but she withheld her counsel from him, saying that the doom that he had devised must work to its appointed end. But in the north of his realm, his messengers met with a peril sudden and unlooked for, the onslaught of Carcharoth, the wolf of Angband. In his madness, he had run ravening from the north, like a destroying fire. Nothing hindered him. Thus he burst into the inviolate woods of Doriath, and all fled away in fear.
Yeah, he's really raging through the countryside.
Yeah, so there's like a few things going on in Doriath, like Melian's not counseling the king is sad, the people are all sad, Daeron's gone.
Daeron's gone, yeah.
And there's no music anymore, and now you've got Carcharoth just ravaging the northern area of Doriath. It's pretty shitty.
So, I mean, other than like betraying Lúthien the one time, really, what did Daeron do to deserve that?
Really, yeah.
I mean, he's a snitch, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like...
They were also lifelong, like, friends.
It seems like a pretty grim fate for that, I guess.
I don't know. I just know that he's friends with Cyrus, and we'll get into Cyrus in the next tale. Cyrus is a POS.
Oh, Cyrus is another little kind of side character in Doriath.
Yes.
And I didn't know that they were friends. But
yeah.
I guess that kind of makes sense, because they're both kind of assholes, I guess.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll reserve my judgment till I learn more.
Okay.
So Beren and Lúthien, back in Doriath now, they went straight to the king, and a crowd followed them. Everyone obviously recognized Lúthien, and that she was back. It was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And King Thingol was so happy to see Lúthien, and he was also amazed to see Beren alive.
Right.
Yeah, surprise, yeah.
Yeah. Thingol still hated Beren because of the darkness, and it's because he blames all this crappiness that's happening. He blames it all, the crappiness in Doriath, he blames it all on Beren.
The appearance of Beren took away all of Doriath's happiness.
Yep.
But Beren knelt before the king and declared that he had accomplished his oath, actually. And here is another lovely excerpt from chapter 19 of the Silmarillion, read by Danny.
Even now, a Silmaril is in my hand. Then Thingol said, "Show it to me." And Beren put forth his left hand, slowly opening its fingers, but it was empty. Then he held up his right arm, and from that hour he named himself Camlost, the empty-handed. Then Thingol's mood was softened, and Beren sat before his throne upon the left, and Lúthien upon the right, and they told all of the tale of the quest, while all there listened and were filled with amazement.
So Thingol, yeah, he listened to the whole tale, and at the end he actually pitied Beren.
Yeah, he did it and
heart.
then lost it. Yeah, like that's even shittier than not doing it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he declared that Beren was unlike other mortal men, and he's one of the greatest in Arda.
You, my friend, are just the coolest.
That's such a turnaround.
yeah, he really turns around on fucking Beren.
He really does, yeah. He also now understands that Beren and Lúthien's destinies are kind of intertwined, and he agrees to let them get married. I think he even says something like, "Please don't ever leave the side of Lúthien again," or something like that.
Damn, yeah. So he's he likes Beren now.
Yeah,
he's on Team Beren.
Yeah,
if he can get in and out of Angband and keep his daughter alive, like that's
through all of that.
Through all of that, I guess that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
But there was still a problem, even after all this happy ending stuff. Yeah. Carcharoth, he's still running around ravaging shit.
Yeah, it's been a while, and he's still doing his thing. And every day he was coming closer and closer to Menegroth.
No bueno. Can't have that happen.
No. And learning that it was a Silmaril that was driving the wolf mad, the king now understood the severity of the situation. Because not only do you have the crazy running wolf now, you have like a Silmaril unaccounted for.
Right.
Like
it's like driving his madness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's How are you going to stop that?
Right.
It is then that the king orders the famous hunting of the wolf,
The hunting of the wolf hunt,
Yes.
the great hunt.
with a hunting party consisting of Huan,
Hell yeah.
Beren, King Thingol, Moblung the Heavy-Handed,
Yep.
and Beleg Strongbow.
Yeah, those are Mablung and Beleg are two of Thingol's like most trusted warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
get
they come
more-
up in a couple stories.
Yeah, they come up in the next tale.
Mm-hmm.
Truly
quite
a
bit.
group of badasses.
Truly.
Yes.
Got to have Huan in there. Got to have him.
Yes.
And then, so they leave first light the next morning. Like, they get their shit together, they're going.
Yeah, the 500 hunters, they follow the river Esgalduin northeast from the gates of Menegroth. And there they find Karkaroth eventually in a valley alongside the river.
Yeah, he was desperately drinking water from the river to try to soothe his burning insides, and he just howled in pain.
But as they approach Karkaroth, he became aware of them, and he hides in the brush.
Yeah, in the book, I think it says that the sweet waters of Escaldon may have actually temporarily soothed his burning for a little bit, long enough to like get his wits together and be like, hide in the brush.
Yeah.
So the hunters, they come down into the valley looking for him. They see he's not quite there anymore, so they set up guard and they wait for him to return. And they stayed there into the evening until they realized at one point Huan was no longer with them.
Yeah, Huan had become impatient, and he went off to find where the fuck Karkaroth was gotten to.
Yeah, where was he hiding?
And they heard a loud bang in the woods. And it was, of course, Huan, who had come across Karkaroth.
Karkaroth burst from the trees and leapt straight at Thingol. But Beren steps in front of Thingol, defends him with a spear.
Sick.
Which, considering Beren's leaps of badassery, I'm sure that was
Another badass leap with the
Yeah.
spear.
with a spear this time.
That dude
But-
he should be in the Olympics, dude. You know
Real.
what I mean? Long jump.
For real.
Yeah.
But this is not a problem, and Karkaroth easily sweeps the spear aside and bites Beren across his chest.
Yeah,
He's
just like full
a,
on.
a huge wolf.
Counterattack.
And at this point,
Yeah.
this is finally when Huan, he finally returns from the woods and attacks Karkaroth. And we got a sweet excerpt here from, again, the Silmarillion, chapter 19, read by Trevor.
In that moment, Huan leaped from the thicket upon the back of the wolf, and they fell together fighting bitterly, and no battle of wolf and hound has been like to it. For in the baying of Huan was heard the voice of the horns of Orome and the wrath of the Valar. But in the howls of Karkaroth was the hate of Morgoth, and malice crueler than teeth of steel, and the rocks were rent by the clamor, and fell from on high, and choked the falls of Esgalduin. There they fought to the death, but Thingol gave no heed, for he knelt by Beren, seeing that he was sorely hurt. Huan in that hour slew Karkaroth, but there was in the woven of woods of Doriath his own doom long spoken was fulfilled, and he was wounded mortally, and in the venom of Morgoth entered into him. Then he came, and falling beside Beren, spoke for the third time with words, and he bade Beren farewell before he died. Beren spoke not, but laid his hand upon the head of the hound, and so they parted.
Damn. Yeah. That is a half really metal excerpt and half like real sad.
A lot of emotions packed into a couple
Man-
of paragraphs.
The man and the hound, they depart together,
Mm-hmm.
pouring out for Huan, everybody.
Yeah. Moment of silence, dog.
So Beren had fallen unconscious and was also near death. But this is when Mablung, using his knife, he cuts open the belly of the wolf and finds that the wolf's insides had been almost completely consumed by some kind of fire.
Yeah, imagine it looked like if you were you were left a baked potato in the oven too long and it just burns all up inside. The inside of it is just completely burned up. That's what I imagine this looks like inside this wolf.
But a giant wolf.
Yeah, but a
Inside of a
giant,
giant wolf.
Yeah.
But the only thing that is still there is Beren's hand with the Silmaril in it, and the hand itself is perfectly preserved.
That's kind of nuts to
Isn't
me.
it wild?
That the hand is still okay to
Been in there for a while too.
Yeah.
Well, not for much longer, because when Mablung reaches to touch the hand, it disintegrates.
Oh.
And all that remains is the blazing Silmaril that's just like blazing there in the dark woods, and it's a super dramatic scene.
Mablung picks it up, which by the way, does he touch it with his bare hands?
Yes.
So Mablung is a worthy
Question mark?
character. Nice. I like Mablung. He's a cool character.
He is a good guy.
We'll get more into him. But he picks up the Silmaril, puts it in Beren's other remaining hand.
His only remaining hand. Yeah.
Right. And it straight up wakes up Beren. He's like, huh, what's this? Woo.
Yeah, the power of it like stirs him back to consciousness. And at this point, Beren, weak and, almost dead, lying on the ground, lifts the Silmaril up to Thingol and asks him to take it. And then he says, quote, "Now the quest is fulfilled and my doom full wrought." And then Beren fell back unconscious again. Not good. He's on the edge. Again. This is his third time on the edge.
Yeah, they lay Beren and the body of Huan across some branches, and they carry them back to Menegroth. And at the foot of Hirelorn, the great beech tree, Lúthien was waiting for them.
When she saw them, she threw her arms around Beren. She kissed him and asked him to wait for her. Quote, "Beyond the western seas."
Yeah, because as we discussed a little bit earlier, when men die, their souls actually linger for a little bit in the halls of Mandos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they stop there. Almost like what we learned in Catholicism is purgatory.
Yeah, like purgatory.
It's a little waiting room.
Yeah, it's like a little layover for your soul while you wait to get over to
wherever you're going.
Wherever men's souls go, we don't know.
I think it's probably more akin to like a rest stop on the interstate.
Sure,
yes,
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're American, you probably get it.
Yeah, you'll see those on the interstate highways. Yeah, they're a good place to take a dump when you're on the road.
And not all of them.
No, well, yeah, actually, a lot of them are a really bad place to take a dump when you're on the road.
Some of them are not so great. So, at this point, Beren opens his eyes and looks at Lúthien one last time. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at her, and then he actually finally dies.
Straight up gives up the ghost.
But Beren's spirit obeys the request of Lúthien, and his spirit waits a little while in the halls of Mandos so that they can try to meet up for one last farewell in the halls of Mandos.
And it's actually really intense here. Lúthien is so grieved at Beren's death that she laid down and her spirit left her. She just dies.
She also just dies.
She just dies.
And but her spirit also goes to the halls of Mandos, where she pleads with Mandos to want to see Beren. Like she knows he's there.
Yeah. And there she sings like her like magnum opus song, right? Like the one last song, like
the song to end all songs.
The song to end all songs. She sings it here for Mandos, and she's gonna try to move him. And we got another excerpt from the Silmarillion, chapter 19 of Beren and Lúthien. Joel's gonna read it for us.
There, those that wait sit in the shadow of their thought. But her beauty was more than their beauty, and her sorrow deeper than their sorrows. And she knelt before Mandos and sang to him. The song of Lúthien before Mandos was the song most fair that ever in words was woven, and the song most sorrowful that ever the world shall hear. Unchanged, imperishable, it is sung still in Valinor, beyond the hearing of the world, and listening the Valar are grieved. For Lúthien wove two themes of words, of the sorrow of the Eldar and the grief of men, of the two kindreds that were made by Ilúvatar to dwell in Arda, the kingdom of earth amid the innumerable stars. And as she knelt before him, her tears fell upon his feet like rain upon the stones. And Mandos was moved to pity, who never before was so moved, nor has been since.
The only thing that Mandos will shirk his duty for, Lúthien's song.
Yeah,
not moved by anything else. He's very stalwart in his position.
No, yeah, he's so unmovable. He probably hasn't taken a shit in years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has not had a good bowel movement.
He hasn't had a move.
I don't know. You sure he doesn't have like a little pan boy that just comes by?
Boy.
Or this is the second time it's come up on the show. Miralax, great.
Miralax, guys. Great. It is actually a
great
wonderful
laxative,
substance.
Yeah.
It's technically not a laxative.
That's right. It's like
because laxatives technically are a drug that will stimulate. It is I don't know if you call it a stool. I think it's a stool softener.
Yeah,
that's more of like a natural, like a vitamin or a mineral or something. All it really does is just lubes things up real good.
Miralax rules.
Miralax is great.
Mandos needs Miralax.
We're in our 30s. You can tell. It's like
well, Miralax. So Lúthien's song is the Miralax of Mandos.
Yeah,
it causes
it moved him.
It moved him.
Yeah. Moved him like no other movement before.
I can't.
He who has never been so moved.
Right.
So Mandos, he agrees, and he brings the spirits of Lúthien and Beren together so they can meet one last time. But Mandos did not have the power to grant them, a life together again or anything like that, or change the fates of men. Beren still had to go off to whatever that is, and that's separate from elves, so he can't change the fates of men or elves after death.
So therefore, Mandos goes to Manwë, ruler over the physical world. I mean,
His
that
superior.
makes sense, right?
He goes to his boss. Yeah.
And Manwë consulted his inner thought, where he can perceive the will of Iluvatar, which is
He can perceive the will of the one big god.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like the two fingers in Elden Ring. If anybody's played that, no, they perceive the will of the greater will. But Manwë, he presents Lúthien with a choice here. So she can leave the Hall of Mandos and live blissfully in the land of Valinor, like all elves are generally given the chance to do. But Beren can't join her, so there's the catch. Or she can go be brought back to life in Middle Earth with Beren.
Sure.
But they would both have to live a mortal life without the certainty of keeping that.
Without the certainty of staying alive.
Or even joy.
Or even,
It might be a
just
miserable
the chance,
experience.
Just the chance to live together again, basically.
Might suck. Might be short. It might be terrible.
Can't really say if it's going to be very good, but
Yeah.
And like even better, Lúthien would die like a regular
mortal man.
Yeah.
And never be allowed to enter Valinor. Like
That's a hell of a catch.
Yeah, so not only are you sacrificing your life, your afterlife as well for Beren, her lover. It's crazy.
It's crazy, but I think we know what she's going to choose. It's a love story.
It's a love story, baby. You gotta choose the romantic choice, right?
Yeah, so naturally, Lúthien chooses the latter, and she chooses that they both be reincarnated again in Middle-earth. And so they are. And they return to Doriath again. And Doriath is healed, and the sadness of Thingol is healed, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, just with Lúthien's simple touch.
Just with the touch of Lúthien's hand.
Yeah. And when Melian looked into Lúthien's eyes, she saw her doom, and she wept. She's like, damn, you've changed. Things are different now.
Things are pretty different. And man, Melian knew that once Lúthien died the mortal death, she was gonna die eventually. She'd be gone forever.
He'd be gone, yeah.
And it was said that no grief of loss has been heavier than the grief of Melian.
Yeah, Melian's life gets real sad from here on out.
Yeah, who would have thought, like, all of a sudden something that she never thought was even possible is happening. Like, she's not even going to get to spend the afterlife with her daughter.
Yeah, which you assume that you would, right?
Mm-hmm. Pretty sad. Mm-hmm. So then Beren and Lúthien, they leave Doriath, and they go east over to the green lands of Osiriand.
The land of seven rivers.
The land of seven rivers. And they live on a little isle in the river of Adarant, and the island is called Tol Galen.
Yeah, and they live out the rest of their days in relative peace and joy.
Afterwards, the elves call the land, what is this, Dor Firin Gwynar?
Sounds right.
Yes, sir.
Land of the dead that live.
Yeah.
The reincarnated.
The not zombies.
So after this, we only ever hear from Beren one other time, and it's when he goes into battle.
Yeah, this is, of course, after the sacking of Doriath by the dwarves of Nogrod, also known as the Battle of Sarn Athrod.
Yeah, so at this time, the army of dwarves were returning to Nogrod after they had sacked Doriath and killed King Thingol for the Silmaril.
Of course, for the Silmaril.
And Beren and some of his green elves of Osiriand, his homies from his new home, they ambushed them at a river crossing. But more of that in later episodes of this series. It has more to do with the second tale, really.
Yeah,
than this tale.
We'll cover more of that battle, the Battle of Sarn-Athrod in The Children of Húrin.
Yes.
So, stay tuned.
It's all coming down the pipe, baby. Ultimately, the dwarves, spoiler alert, they're killed. And Beren, he now has the Silmaril again, really. In his, yeah. You're like, I remember this thing.
Fun
this
memories.
fucking thing.
This thing I lost my fucking hand for. Yeah, and it was said that afterward, Lúthien actually wore the Silmaril, and the land of Dor Firin Gwynar was one of the fairest places to live outside of Valinor.
Yeah.
She was just like the absolute picture of beauty. The most beautiful fair of all the children of Iluvatar, wearing like the most beautiful jewel, one of the most beautiful jewels to ever exist.
basically divine power. Too.
Yeah, straight up. Beren and Lúthien, they also had a son named Dior. He became, of course, the heir of Thingol, because that tracks, right? He actually went back to reclaim Doriath after it was sacked the first time.
Yeah, the first time. Implying that there are more times. Yeah.
This implies that Beren nor Lúthien ever held like a ruling position.
Right, yeah,
right?
No, they did not. Neither of them, Lúthien forewent her claim to any kind of royalty in Doriath.
Mm-hmm.
And they just lived out their lives together out in the country.
Yeah, I actually really, really like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They just live a simple life. That's all they wanted. They just wanted to be with each other.
But their son, why not?
Yeah, why not?
He's got
you
what's
got
he
the
gonna do?
bloods in your veins.
Yeah, you might as well.
Technically, he's one of the few elf-human hybrids.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we weren't actually sure if he's immortal or not. That's actually hotly debated.
This is before the choice was
right. Yeah, so
it's
hotly debated among Tolkien fans and scholars
whether or not he got the choice.
Because Dior, spoiler alert, doesn't get to naturally die.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if he was immortal or not.
Right. He doesn't. He doesn't get to live too long before he's unfortunately killed. But we'll get into that in our later episodes on these great tales of the First Age. But finally, Beren and Lúthien, they did die, and that was in the year 503 of the First Age. And we've got a short excerpt here from the Silmarillion, chapter 20, to take things out, and this will be read by Danny.
No mortal man spoke ever again with Beren, son of Barahir, and none saw Beren or Lúthien leave the world, or marked where at last their bodies lay. Yeah, the only thing they know is in the novel is a messenger shows up from Assyrian with the chest that has the Nauglamir in it, right? And he's like,
yeah, it's just a green elf from where they used to live comes and presents them with the Silmaril, the Nauglamir.
Yeah, and it says in that moment Dior knew they were dead.
Yeah.
That was it. Like that, he'd never heard any word from them. He just like when the Silmaril showed up at his door, he's like, I assume they're dead now.
Yeah. After their reincarnation, if you will, they basically went off the map. They just went and lived out the rest of their life in privacy and in a lovely place. Osirian is a lovely place.
Rules, yeah.
That's kind of like where you go to retire.
Yeah, yeah.
When did Bombadil come about?
Bombadil's eldest and fatherless. We know now.
We assume Bombadil has already been around for a long time during all of these events.
We can only assume.
I wonder if they had spent some time with Bombadil.
Maybe he lived in Osirian back in the day. If he lived in any part of Beleriand, I'd probably say it would be Osirian.
Right. If he spent any time in any part of Beleriand, yeah. I know. I think it's sort of implied that his house on the Withywindle is where he's been for a long time, but
yeah,
I guess we have no idea how long or where else he could have been. So.
And
I guess they're sort of trying to take advantage of that in the Amazon Prime show, which I don't like. But anyway,
that's for now. It shall ever remain a Tolkien mystery.
But that is it for the canon tale of Beren and Lúthien.
Wow, we did it, guys!
I'll never forget my first time going through that in the Silmarillion. It changed me. I was like, this is a little bit different than everything else in the Silmarillion. It's a little more fairy tale like. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And we did it in just under 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to reiterate, the version that you'd find in the Silmarillion is only 25 pages long, and you can actually just listen to the audio version in about 50 minutes.
Yeah. But listen to 4 times longer.
But listen to us talk about it. It's way more fun.
Yeah, it's way more fun. But we also have a whole other episode about this coming up.
Yes, we're not done with Beren and Lúthien yet. So next week, our next episode 102, is going to be our part 3 for Beren and Lúthien, where we're going to cover the recently published book, which goes over a lot of the previous versions of the tale.
Yeah.
Nothing in that book was new. It was just kind of a reorganization of a lot of existing information.
Yeah, so we'll be kind of getting into the history of the tale, if you will. Right?
Exactly, yeah. So we're going to get some previous versions of the tale that are going to be really cool, even more fairy tale-like, and just kind of talk about the development of the tale over time. So tune in for that. That's going to be really fun.
Tune in, please. Let's get into some final thoughts on Beren and Lúthien canon story here. Beren and Lúthien, really cool characters. I know that's kind of like a base thing to say. We have it here like that's their number one. Beren and Lúthien are cool, but it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the coolest characters, like, in the Silmarillion, arguably, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're freaking awesome. Everybody wants to be Beren and Lúthien. It's great.
It's a great love story.
It's a fantastic love story. It's Tolkien's great love story based off of his own love story, right?
Yeah.
They just conquer so much adversity throughout the whole thing.
Right, yeah. It shows that true love can conquer anything, even death itself.
Yeah, well, and they're
beautiful.
they're
Poetic.
both strong on their own.
Right.
Too.
That's another thing. Yes, they are both very strong and determined people, and they don't need each other, but they want each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. And it is a really good counterbalance to the next tale that we'll cover. Not next week, but after.
Yes, the Children of Hurin, which is bring your box of Kleenex for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one gets dark. So yeah, we may have mentioned this before, but the three great tales, Beren and Lúthien is the love tale, the Children of Hurin is the tragedy. And then you've got the Fall of Gondolin, which is just kind of an inspiring epic.
Yeah, one of your more like kind of typical Tolkien stories. Yeah, it's cool. It's got a little bit of both, I guess. It's sad,
A little bit of both, but
yeah.
it actually gets a bit of a happy ending.
Sure. Yeah, hopeful, right?
Yeah,
Hopeful.
a hopeful.
Yeah.
The Star of High Hope, yes.
Star of High Hope, exactly.
I love that throughout the story, Beren kind of lives his life on the edge of death.
Always.
Yeah, he does.
Always living on the edge.
Like
yeah.
he's just teetering there. Like
Yeah.
any minute now.
Yeah, no, so he's almost killed twice, and then after that he actually gets killed. So
Straight up.
So I guess that's 3 times. He's just
Yeah.
like...
Well, and then he gets to come back, and then he gets
Oh yeah,
to die
then he
second
dies
time.
again. So that's 4 times.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this guy.
Yeah, another thing we wanted to say about the Beren and Lúthien tale is that it's the most like fairy tale like, right? Like this is the most magical, whimsical tale of the early days, right? And that was just the canon version, which is by far the most toned down of the versions.
Lúthien is OP.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it. It has to be
Lúthien-
said. She is OP.
She is OP. Great character, great fairy tale character though. Love her so much. But that's pretty much all we got for you this week, guys. Next week we'll be getting into Beren and Lúthien Part 3, which we already talked about. Thanks for listening to KOT Podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Stay up to date on new episodes. Please rate us or give us a nice review on your app or whatever website you use. And also, please check out our new website. Trevor's been working very hard keeping that thing going and improving the crap out of it.
Yeah, it's where you go for everything KOT.
Yeah, it's kind of a hub for all of our links and everything now. So check that out. If you need help finding anything like our merch store, our Patreon, our SoundCloud, anything, it's all going to be there, guys. So keepontolkien.com. Simply that. Keepontolkien.com.
And a big thank you to our patrons as always. If you like, you can go subscribe on Patreon to help support us. In doing so, we'll also unlock some exclusive content for you. That's patreon.com/KOT podcast. If you're more into private one-time donations or smaller donations, that's absolutely okay. We have PayPal and other services. Just contact us and we'll make it happen. We just appreciate anything you're willing to donate.
Anything and everything. Thank you so much.
And if you'd like to keep up with us and what we're doing, follow us on social media. You can find us on Discord. We'll have a link in the description. It's been really popping again lately.
Yeah,
Got
Discord's
a lot of
hopping.
people
Yeah.
carrying conversations, which is really awesome.
And posting daily, which is nice. We like to hear from people, regularly. It's cool. Yeah, it's really fun. Really interesting community of people on there, guys. Yeah, check us out. Join our Discord.
Best way to stay engaged with us for sure.
Yeah, and we use Discord for our personal lives as well as our gamer lives, as well as
It's all mixed together.
It's all there. So we pay attention to that most. I know some of you have probably hit us up and we might not have gotten back to you over the years because we're terrible at responding a lot of the time, and we're very sorry.
Hey, we're busy too, though.
Well, it's not our full-time job, but
Yeah, we all 3 of us have separate full-time jobs. So
right. But
we try to do as much as we can.
Yes, but the thing is, Discord makes it really easy for us. So if you could use Discord to hit us up, that would be easy.
Hell yeah.
Join us.
Join us.
Join the hive mind. So we're also on TikTok at keep_on_Tolkien_podcast. Mouthful. We're still on X, formerly Twitter, at KOT Podcast. We're on Facebook at Official Keep On Tolkien and Instagram at Keep On Tolkien Podcast. Also, if you want some merch with that awesome KOT brand on it, check out our merch store. That is keep-on-tolkien.com. tolkien-podcast.tmail.com, another mouthful, or just go to keepontolkien.com.
Easier.
Easier.
Yeah,
Way
you'll
easier.
find all of this stuff on
Everything,
keepontolkien.com.
even the link to that Discord. It's all there.
It's all there, guys. Yeah, check that out. But yeah, that was this is we're in the thick of our 100th anniversary or our 100th episode celebration here, guys, and it's going to continue for the whole goddamn run.
Hell
so
yeah, we're just getting started.
yes, so we're just getting into it. So keep on coming back. Tell everybody about it. Tell them we're redoing, we're George Lucasing this. Please come listen. But yeah, that's all from us. I'm Danny J.
I'm Joel N.
I'm Trevor D.
And together we are
Keep on Tolkien.
All right, and Tolkien. That was how Huon would say it.
Well,
I was like, are you
no.
a Wookiee? Wait,
A dog, you know?
I got you.
The Hound
I
of
got-
Valinor.
The house specifically.
Oh, Scooby-Dooby Huon.
Scooby-Doo-doo. Huon.